Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hopefully you're having an amazing day. Let's talk about the RTX 3090 Ti, shall we? No, I didn't mean to say 3080 Ti, I do mean the 3090 Ti. And this one's quite interesting because it's courtesy of a pretty good source actually, and that is ZOTAC. Basically, different GPU manufacturers, as I'm sure you're aware, release software to tweak their cards. And ZOTAC is known as Firestorm, and in the Firestorm software, there are references to the 3070 Ti, we've heard of that, the RTX 3080 Ti, yep, we know about that one, and again, the RTX 3090 Ti. Now, this could be a mistake on ZOTAC's part, or perhaps they're just predicting that Nvidia will release this card. And personally, I've heard nothing of this. Like, I've spoken to multiple people, and everyone I've spoken to, just to let you guys know, is in the dark on this one. However, it's possible that it's a new thing from Nvidia and it's not filtered down yet, maybe? Who knows? But again, ZOTAC seem to think it's a thing. So what specs could we see in an RTX 3090 Ti? Well, it's possibly using the full die of the GA102. If we mosey our way over to Tech Power Up, they've actually got a nice kind of comparison of all of the different silicon which uses GA102, and we can see that the RTX 3080, that features 8704 CUDA cores. I'm going to ignore the rest of the stuff like TM used in memory and that type of thing for just a moment. The RTX 3090 features 10,496 and the 3080 Ti features 10,240. We're pretty sure at this point that that is correct for the 3080 Ti, so it does have 10,240. So the only option, assuming this card again is real, is it might be using the Nvidia A40 specifications, which is 10,752 CUDA cores, which would be a modest increase in specification. Now, it's possibly an entirely different die, and that is possible, but in my opinion, it's more likely that they're just using a GA102 die. The question is, what difference really would there be in specifications? I mean, really and truly, the number of CUDA cores different here would be modest. I mean, it would be almost margin of error. And it's possible that they're doing something with the RAM so that the 3090 Ti maybe has like 48 gigabytes and they might market it more as a Titan card. So maybe the RTX 3090 Ti is not a 3090 Ti. Maybe it could be Titan. I don't know, honestly. It's also possible that they could tweak the card so it's got better compute capabilities or something like that for like home usage. Who knows, honestly. It's obviously just kind of guessing based on a rumor. But the question is, what would they price this thing at? Like, okay, so you would assume that the 3080 Ti is going to be about $1,000. I was hearing it was going to be $999, but then I'm also hearing it could possibly be a little bit more, like $1,100. Let's assume, just for sake of this conversation, it's $1,000. But you would assume that this would have to be more expensive than the 3090, so it's got to be getting up there towards $2,000 US, which again kind of makes me think that it's not a card necessarily aimed towards gamers, but it's more towards like professional usage. Anyway, speaking of Nvidia, they of course will be at Computex along with just about all of the companies, and this year's Computex is going to be extremely interesting, at least in my opinion. Just a quickie. It looks like Nvidia will be announcing the 3070 Ti as well as the 3080 Ti. I would be very, very skeptical that they will announce the 3090 Ti. I think if it is real, it's probably coming later. But again, I think we can be pretty safe in assuming that those two announcements are set in stone. So we actually have an update to a video that I put out yesterday concerning the B2 stepping for Vermeer, aka Ryzen 5000. Patrick on Twitter discovered that there was a B2 stepping variant which seemed to offer clock frequencies up to 5 GHz with a 3.6 GHz base frequency. This is for the 16 core, you can see it on screen right now. But what's quite interesting is that AMD themselves have put out a statement regarding this. I'm going to read it verbatim. This, by the way, is from a spokesperson speaking to benchmark.pl. I'll link the article in the description. As part of our continued effort to expand our manufacturing and logistic capabilities, AMD will gradually move AMD Ryzen 5000 series desktop processors to the V2 revision over the next 6 months. The revision does not bring improvements in terms of functionality or performance. Furthermore, no BIOS update is required. I'm not surprised about the BIOS update side of things. However, functionality and performance is quite an interesting one. Yesterday I said that I don't really think that this is going to be any architecture improvements in all, and I'm not really surprised. Like, it doesn't make any sense, especially since we know that Warhol isn't a thing. However, if it is true that there is no performance improvements at all, why is the 5 GHz thing mentioned? Now, it's possible that this is just in an effort to improve the clock frequencies and overall stepping of the processor, as AMD is stating. However, I personally wouldn't be surprised if these CPUs do boost at slightly higher clock frequencies, but at the end of the day, who honestly can tell? I think it makes more sense, though, for AMD to not market these as like entirely different processors, because as I was saying in yesterday's video, if they did that, it would be kind of weird, given if they did make it a whole marketing thing around this and like a lot of effort, they would still be releasing processors which would be getting their butts kicked ultimately by Alder Lake, and that's not really surprising. I mean, if you think about it, one company would essentially be fighting the other company with a newer generation of processors. I still think AMD will have the lead when it comes to multi-threaded performance. However, I think that Alder Lake is likely to take the lead when it comes to gaming. Zen 4 is going to be an entirely different story. I think that Zen 4 is going to be an entirely different story. Personally, I think that Zen 4 is most likely going to decimate, absolutely, completely and utterly annihilate Alder Lake and possibly even Intel's successor. But in the short term, Intel will be having at least a win in terms of gaming performance, which honestly is probably good for the market for a little bit of back and forth. Let me know what you guys think about this one, because I think that if they do release these processors over the next 6 months, it basically is going to be kind of like towards the end of the shelf life of AM4 anyway. I mean, realistically, if you've not upgraded to, let's say, a 5950X around Christmas time, there's a good chance you might just hold off for Zen 4. I suspect that around Christmas, we're probably going to get a lot of leaks about Zen 4 anyway. So it's going to be very interesting to me how that market actually deals with Alder Lake. Because what AMD might be thinking is that, well, people might just hold fire on not upgrade to Alder Lake anyway, because they want to see how AMD can counter it. But then if you're a hardcore gamer, you might just jump on Alder Lake because technically speaking, it's the best gaming performance. I'm getting a lot of people at the moment asking, you know, they're on the Zen 3, they're kind of like on a Zen 2 or Zen, Zen Plus platform or something like that, and they're wondering, should you just jump onto Zen 3? And I think now, if you can get a processor at MSRP, it's a good time. I'm someone who, generally speaking, prefers to get a processor kind of in the earlier part of its life, but obviously with the shortages at the moment, it's making it a lot more difficult. So this generation is kind of like, by the time that the supply actually becomes more plentiful, especially for certain SKUs like the 5900X, although they are getting better, you can argue that the generation almost might be over. So it's kind of weird in that respect. With that said, let me know what your thoughts are on that one. And also the 1390 Ti. Do you think it's real? Like, if it's real, do you think it's a gaming GPU? I'm personally leaning towards no. I think it's going to be the equivalent of a Titan. Again, I'm not saying that with any concrete information. It just would make sense to me, given the price would be so damn high. With that said, thanks very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.